What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr War Games, and today I am bringing you a deck that I'm having a huge amount of fun with, and that is the 60 card Sunavalon Therion Brave deck. Now again, this is pretty much all of the best engines rolled into one, and it all comes down to how much you want to, whether you want to go down the synchro route or whether you want to go down a link route. The Sunavalons give you the link route, whereas the punks, or a more demanding punk engine, gives you a very good synchro route. I will show you a one card combo at the end. I'm not going to show you the basic Loki one card combo, but I'm going to show you an alternative route to get to Loki, which also sets you up a Baron de Fleur as well for protection before you even get there. With all of that out of the way, massive shout out to Alex Robinson, who inspired me to pick this deck back up and actually build it and put it together properly, who got second at the UK Nationals. With all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. So we start off with the most important Sunavalon card, and this one is the Sunseed Loki. So considering that Loki is so important, we play 9, technically 10 other ways to get to it, in the form of triple unexpected die, triple painful decision, and triple small world, alongside a single copy of Lonefire Blossom. Now the idea is whether you normal Loki or special summon it in one way or another, it's going to be able to get you your full chain and the full combo route all the way through the Sunavalon Dryas, and then it ultimately ends you with 2 Link 4s, Sunavalon Bloom, plus the Therion Regulus as well. It's crazy good, crazy powerful, and then if you add the Brave on top of that, it's just insanely good. With Small World, it's all about learning the bridges, and what I mean by that is the idea again is you probably want to get to your Sunavalon Seed, but there are ways of getting to your hand traps as well, considering that throughout the deck you play Waters, Earths, Darks, Winds, and then of course you have additional attributes of Lights as well. So you can get to your Punk plays, you can get to your Sunavalon plays, you can get to any of your hand traps as well. So once you learn the bridges, that's the best way of doing it. Carrying on with the plant monsters, as this is a 60 card build, I have got the one Snowdrop, the one Rose Girl, the one Aromage Laurel, the one Necro Synchron, which is actually crazy good, the one Garnet of Twin, and the one Rose Whip. Now all of these serve different purposes. Now the Necro Synchro is to be summoned off of Halley Firebrax, and then what you do is you get the ability of syncing it with Foxy Tune, and you go into your Baron de Fleur, and then when you sync with it, it does then, or specifically for Baron de Fleur, because it needs to be with a wind monster, it lets you special summon out a plant monster from the deck, and that's how you get into Loki. So that's the combo I'll show you at the end, and kind of go from there. Rose Rip kind of locks your opponent into only being able to play one spell or trap. So it forces them to early doors either Dark Ruler you, or it forces you to droplet you. On top of that as well, if they were to play anything that isn't a droplet, and you've got the ability of something along the lines of the Regulus on the board, Regulus negates effect, not activation. So it would still count towards Rose Whip, whereas if you negate the activation, they can of course activate again. The Snowdrop and the Rose Girls are just alternative options that can be summoned out of the deck as well. And then what you can do is you can special summon down Snowdrop and special summon down the Rose Girl, turn them both into level 8s, and that's how you can get into the rank 8, which again provides you with another quick effect interruption. Laurels are actually crazy important, so while your life points are higher than your opponent's, you can special summon it from the hand, and then when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to gain 500 life points, which helps you trigger your Jasmine plays. Twin is such a good card, but also such a bad brick. There's the argument of playing 2 of these, but again, it's the same argument of, well, why would you want to play 2 Garnets? You're probably just doubling up the chance of seeing it. You want to try and bury it as much as possible. Mainly in a 40 card deck, you might want to play 2 Twins, but ultimately the way this works is it's the card you want to be special summoning out of the deck with your Sunvine Sowing. And then by doing so, it starts a chain reaction in order to keep the combos moving. For the other Sunavalon or the Sunvine cards, we've got the one Shrine and the one Bloom. So the Bloom is the ability to pretty much be a constant imperm. So when this card is activated, if you can try a link for a higher plant monster, when this effect resolves, negate the effects of all fatal monsters your opponent currently controls. During damage calculation, if your plant link monster battles, you can activate this effect. It gains attack equal to the combined attack of all monsters it currently points to until the end of this turn. So that's really important because it does come out. A lot of people don't read past that point, and then they'll attack into your monster and you'll go, okay, cool, Sunavalon Bloom, boost up your monster and it's protected. Not to mention that you'll also have the Therion field spell that can help it protect him being destroyed by battle, and you pretty much get everything you need. The Shrine is another part of a combo that helps you get a free extender, because what this allows you to do is you activate it by sending one card from your hand to the graveyard, and then while you control a Sunavalon Link monster, you can't special summon monsters from the extra except plants, which is completely fine, because you're going to lock yourself into plants with the summon anyway. Once per turn during your main phase, you can special summon a level 4 or lower plant normal monster from your graveyard. Once per turn during your opponent's end phase, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard to target a continuous trap in your graveyard and set it to your spell and trap card zone. Well, you're mainly going to be using the middle effect of being able to constantly special summon back the seed, but that's where you need to be quite weary of something like DD Crow. So that's it for like the main plant engine itself and the Sunavalons and everything like that. Moving on to the Therions. This is why I really want to play deck. I wanted to play decks that could utilise the Therions the best, and the Punks do it one way, Earth Machines do it another, and then of course the Sunavalons do it another way. So you've got triple Lily, 1 Regulus, and the 1 Disc Colosseum. The reason this is so good is throughout your combo, when you trigger Jasmine, you can search out a Lily. Lily can then ultimately get you to the field spell, which will then get you to Regulus, and you've given yourself an Omni Negate that can protect you from further Nibiru's or anything else like that as well. The other engine that we play is the Punk engine. So you've got the 1 Z-Armin, the 1 Deer-Note, the 1 Foxy-Tune, and the triple E-Telly. The reason this is so good is whether you actually use your normal summon of the Z, or you get it off of E-Telly, this is your route to Halley Firebrax, and then off the back of Halley Firebrax, it's also your route into a Baron de Fleur, which gives you protection for moving your plays further forward. The one issue that I kind of have with this engine is eventually, once you've already resolved the engine once, or if you open up Foxy-Tune or anything like that, it becomes a little bit more difficult to kind of get everything you need. So the E-Telly becomes dead, which is in the hand trap section. I'm considering putting in Ghost Ogres just so that even if I open it, I still have that free extender. The only downside is that the Ghost Ogre doesn't really fit in with any like XYZ levels or the link levels. And that's another issue with the deck as well, is that most of its links are all plant-based. So if you were to be up against something like Zombie World or something that adapts your types or locks you into your types, it can be very, very difficult to kind of proceed and play around that. Like one of the matches I had, my opponent put down Zombie World. If I didn't have the access to the Brave route to bounce that Zombie World, I would have been in a lot of trouble. We've then, of course, got triple droplets as well. I will go back to the other engines. I've kind of split everything up into like hand traps and then the Brave package and everything else. So triple droplets, you don't actually mind about sending stuff because you've got so many one-card combos in the deck. Droplets is actually the best thing you could have. It's great going first. It's great going second. It is one of them ones, and we are sadly in a format where it's like, right, well, open droplet, imperm, or lose. And it's kind of ways to be able to turn off the barrier statue or play around being locked out under D-Shifter, and then of course being able to turn off the board of Scythe Lock, Calamity Lock, not to mention this own lock of this board, because like the opposing board of this, or the end board of this, is crazy strong. So like I said, you get a quick effect bounce, you get a quick effect I believe tribute, and then you've got the trap card Imperm alongside a Regulus Omni Negate and possibly a Baron Omni Negate as well. For the Brave package, you should be playing 3 Water Enchantress. I've only got 2 ultis at the moment. I sold my Ultras to get into the ultis, so I need to pick up a third of that one. So this is a 59 card deck I'm going to show you, but it is very easily a third Water Enchantress without argument on that one. 1 Griffin Rider, triple Rights, 1 Fateful, 1 Draco back, pretty much standard, straightforward, simple on that. It is what it is. The engine, you need to play, like if you've got access to it, you need to play it. If you don't have access to it, it's fine, take it out, go down to a 50 card deck. It's not the end of the world, but it is incredibly important. It should be a little bit easier to get the War Enchantresses, but then it's still getting hold of the rights as well that could cause an issue. Right now, the engine, in my opinion, is at an all-time low. I've seen a lot of people selling the entire engine for like £200, which, considering it is a £300 engine, is purely because we're coming out of the competitive season. It's definitely going to be an engine worth picking up, in my opinion, because the worst thing that I believe they will do to the engine is probably cut Water Enchantress and or Right to 2. which would leave you with a spare right and a spare water enchantress, but it's still worth picking up because it can be used in a multitude of decks, and that's not going to change going forward anyway. For the hand traps, you've got triple gamma and the one driver. Like, if you don't open up the driver and your opponent foolishly plays into gamma, it's unreal how important this is. Yes, at the moment, on the board, it's only going to get you into Halley Firebrax, which then won't get you much further, which is why I want to kind of consider possibly playing a gamma, not a gamma, sorry, a omega. But it's more so being used during your opponent's turn. This is why I'm considering Ghost Ogre, is because there are so many of my opponent's plays where they're like, okay, cool, I'm ready to resolve my effect, and if it gets Imperm, Veiled, or Ash, I can still play because the monster's still there. But with a Gamma, not only are you negating the effect and clearing their board off, like, for example, you can Ash a Brand of Fusion, that's great, or you can Gamma a Lubellion, which is even better. So it's so good, and then, like I said, the defensive routes making your own plays, so like a Painful Decision, an Unexpected Die, an E-Telly, it does require your opponent to switch off a little bit because most people will wait until you put a monster on the board to then try and Ash you, Ogre you, or stop you. So it does allow you to get a little bit of advantage, but I feel it's just such a good hand trap. And then, of course, we've got double Ash, double Veiler, double Imperm. This is something that I swapped out. So I was playing 2 Nib and 2 Crow, but I dropped them both down to 1s each for the double Imperm, for the pure fact that Barrier Statue is a thing, and when they do Shifter and then get to Barrier Statue, you can't droplet it, you do need an Imperm in order to try and make your plays like feasible. The Crow is really important because if they Crow your Loki, most of your loops and most of your plays require you to bring Loki back from the graveyard, which is why Shift is quite dangerous as well. And then the Nibiru is probably a little bit better off being at 2 because there's just some times when you go second, if you open up a Nibiru, your opponent is very rarely actually considering Nibiru turn 1. So they continue to make their plays, they go through it, and then they get hit with a Nibiru. I've had it happen a couple of times to me where I just don't consider it. I'm probably going to consider it a little bit more now. But there are times when you just don't have the ability to play around the Nibiru and you have to take that risk. And if you get hit with Nibiru, it could end your turn. And then obviously, because we're playing so many hand traps, we are playing double cross out and the one called by. The reason cross out's even better in this version is because in a mirror match or in the punk match, you've got options you can take out. But then because so many people are playing this specific lineup of hand traps and the Brave package, you've also got targets for that. So you're taking out either an insanely powerful engine in the deck, which can also be very good if they try to Griffin as well. But you're also being able to protect yourself from all of the hand traps that can cause you issues. Again, I have pushed this to a 60 card deck just to facilitate all of these. And the other really, really good thing that I quite like is if my opponent tries to droplet me, if they don't send a spell, I can cross out the droplet. So it's kind of one of the ones where the end board is going to need them to be sending, if you've got Rose Whip on the board as well, your opponent's going to be needing to send 1, 2, possibly 3, at the very least, 3 cards from their opening hand of 6. Not to mention Droplet will make up the 4, so they're only going to have 2 cards to play with. And then even with this deck, those 2 cards that they have to play with, they still need to deal with the Sunavalon Bloom, which is basically going to be a negate for their monster on the board, and then a possibility of a crossout, which, again, I did get dropleted. They did send spells and monsters, so I couldn't chain anything. But then because I had the crossout, I was still able to stop their plays, which is really, really important. Moving on to the extra deck, we've got 2 Dryas. This card has so many effects, it's absolutely mad. And then the fact that when you read it, it doesn't say like once per turn on it, or like hard once per turn, is crazy. So it requires a level 4 or lower plant monster. If it is link summoned in the extra monster zone using Loki as material, you get to add a Sunvine spell or trap from your deck to the hand. This card cannot be targeted for attacks, but doesn't prevent your opponent from attacking directly. Once per turn, if you take battle damage or effect damage, you gain that much life points, and if you do, special summon 1 Sunvine monster from your extra deck. That is at none of that point is any of that once per turn. That's crazy. And the one card that you're probably going to be summoning more times than not will be Healer. Healer is 1 plant normal monster, and if a Sunavalon Link monster you control leaves the field by card effect, destroy this card. If this card is special summoned, you can target 1 Sunavalon Link monster on the field, gain life points equal to its Link rating times 300. When your plant Link monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you gain 600 life points. This is all incredibly important in order to help you trigger the Jasmines, because you can get searches off of those as well. We've then got the one Thrasher. So this is more of your aggressor for going second. So if a Avalon Link monster you control leaves the field by card effect, destroy this card. If this card is special summoned, you can target a Avalon Link monster on the field. This card gains attack equal to that monster's Link rating times 800. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can special summon that monster to a zone a Link monster points to, but negate its effect. So the idea is you want to target the Link 4, and then straight away your Thrasher becomes a 3200 beta, and then you're pretty much stealing your opponent's monsters, which is obviously great. Halley Firebrax, now obviously it's very specific on this one because you can't make Halley Firebrax through the normal routes, because the normal combo gets you into Sowing, which locks you into special summoning plants from the extra deck. So the only way you get into Halley Firebrax is through the Punk route, and then by doing so, like I said, that will then ultimately get you your Baron, which again, I'll show you at the end. Shout out to Joe on this one, so Sylvian Dancephane. So the reason I've put this one in here is it requires 2 plant monsters, and if this card is Link summoned, you can declare a number between 1 and 3. You excavate that many cards from the top of your deck, and then you get to special summon up to 2 plant monsters excavated, and the rest get sent to the graveyard. They can't be used as Link materials. However, monsters this card points to, you can target a plant in the graveyard, and the monsters this card points to become that level. So it's another way of consistently being able to get you into your teardrop. But the reason I'm going to be activating this is more for the mills. Because you can go through your entire combo without using a normal summoned monster's effect, you can actually get all the way into a combo and then mill a War Enchantress off of this effect, to then banish a War Enchantress and then add to your entire end board the entire Griffin token combo. Everything you need. And then, of course, Jasmine. Love this card. It's such a good card. Again, it's a hard once per turn to tribute and summon, but it's a soft once per turn to search. So again, generic 2 plant monsters. If your life points are higher than your opponent, this card and any plant monster it points to cannot be destroyed by battle. You can tribute 1 monster this card points to special summon 1 plant monster from your deck in defense. You can only use this effect once per turn. Soft once per turn, if you gain life points, add a plant monster from your deck to the hand. Now the reason this is important is because there's ways of looping your healer and your Dryas, but off the back of that as well, you can also loop back a Jasmine and get its effect off for a 3rd time in a turn. We've then got 2 Malias. So this one again, if it is Link summoned, you get to special summon a Loki seed from the graveyard. It can't be targeted attacked. It doesn't mean that your opponent could not attack directly. And then once per turn, you can target Sun Avalon or Sunvine Link monster you control that this card points to. It can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of Sun Avalon Link monsters you currently control. So again, what's really good is you can have it pointing to a Thrasher. Thrasher would have already gained off of the Link 4, which is going to be this guy here. And then it can attack, I believe it's 2 times. Yeah, because then you'd control these 2, so this would be attacking for 32 twice as well, which is really, really good. The issue with these is they are all 0 attacks, so it's a little bit more difficult to kind of deal with, but they all kind of share the same effect of your opponent could not attack them, and they can't be destroyed by card effect. The Link 4 is basically when it is Link summoned, you get to add a Sun Avalon spell or trap, so that's how you get into Bloom and go from there. You can also tribute a Link monster this card points to destroy any number of monsters your opponent controls up to the Link rating. And the reason that is so good is that you can have it point to Bengal Answer, tribute the Bengal Answer, pop up to 4 cards your opponent controls, and then you can use Bengal Answer's effect in the graveyard by banishing monsters that add up to its Link rating and then summon it back to the field. It's very important that you can only use 1 of its effects per turn, so its other effect is during the main phase as a quick effect. You can target an effect monster your opponent controls, take damage equal to its attack, and if you did take damage, you get to return it to the hand. So keep in mind that you're going to burn and bounce, but you can't burn and bounce and revive it from the grave in the same turn. It has to be Link monsters that it banishes as well, and it could be 2 or more. More times than not, you're going to be banishing a Malias plus a Dryas or a healer. And then the final 2 cards is the one Baron de Fleur, pretty straightforward and simple on that one, and the one Teardrop. Now, this one is generic rank 8, but you get to detach a material from this card, target a monster on the field, and tribute it. It's a quick effect if this card has a plant monster as material, which 90%, pretty much 100% of the time when you make it, it will do. Only use each effect once per turn. Each time a monster is tributed, this card gains 200 attack for each until the end of the turn, so you get a nice little buff to make it a 3k, and then during your turn you can make it 3k again. So that's it for the extra deck. I'm now going to show you the very basic 1-card combo, and this is just something that I wasn't completely aware of. So obviously we all know the 1-card Loki combo. If you don't and you want to see it, then let me know in the comments down below. But the other 1-card combo that I'm going to show you revolves around the punks, and it's how the punks utilize getting into your Loki play as well. I won't show you the full Loki combo because again, like I said, it's been used or seen 101 times. So you can either have E-Telly or Z. If you open up E-Telly, it means that your Brave package later on in the play can be utilised a little bit better. I say one card combo, you will need a random discard as well, just for your Foxy Tune. We're going to use the E-Telly just to kind of make it as maximum potential as possible. So you E-Telly, you bring out the Z Armin, you activate Z's effect, and you search yourself out your Foxy Tune. You will then use Foxy Tune's effect to discard itself and the random card in your hand, and this will then let you summon out Dino. You'll then link these two together and go into your Crystron Halifibrax. You then get to go Crystron Halifibrax Chainlink 1, Dino Chainlink 2 to revive the Foxy Tune. And this is where the Necro Synchron comes into play. You summon that down. You then sync these two together and get into a Baron de Fleur. So off of the back of 1, 2, 3, 4, your fifth summon is now Baron. You're protected with everything you need. Let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, no. Your fifth summon would be your Foxy Tune coming back from the grave. But it's like if your opponent Nibiru's you then, you still have your normal summon and you still have plays to make. You can then trigger the effect of the Necro Synchro. So if this card is sent to the grave as sync material for a wind monster, you get to special summon one level 1 plant monster from your deck. Well, lucky enough for us, our main combo piece is the Loki. Then what you want to do here is you want to use Baron's effect to target the Halifibrax and destroy it. Sorry, but we are just going to use and abuse Halifibrax in this one. And then you get to go full Loki combo from here. So I might as well show it to you for those of you who don't know, but you turn the Loki into the Dryas. There we go. Dryas' effect will go off to add you a Sunavalon spell or trap. And the one you want to be adding is, of course, going to be your Sowing. You're going to activate the Sowing, paying 1,000 life points to special summon out the Twin. This will then let you go Chainlink 1 Dryas, Chainlink 2 Twin. The Twin will allow you to summon back the Loki. The Dryas will obviously gain you that 1,000 life points you've just spent on the Sowing. And then it will also let you special summon out a Healer. So keep in mind, you're still now back up to 8k. Healer's effect will target the Dryas, and that will then give you the ability of gain 300, meaning that your life points are now higher than your opponent's. You then link these two together and go into your first Jasmine. Now you've got two ways of doing this depending on how you want to do it. You can either trigger off one Jasmine at a time, or you can trigger off both at the same time. Now the way you trigger off one at a time is you turn these into the Dryas and the Healer, and then the Healer's effect will go off again and go from there. If you wanted to trigger both of them, then you need to tribute and get into a Laurel. So to do both, you would actually use its effect now to tribute the Sunseed and get into a Laurel. Where are you now? I personally like doing it the other way, but again, it comes down to personal preference, whether you want to try and chain block or whether you want to just get one at a time. So you'd go into the Laurel, and then you'd link these two together, and you'd go into your second Jasmine, and then on the summon of this one, your Laurel will trigger to gain you 500 life points, which will then let you trigger both of the Jasmines. At this point, it's entirely up to you on what you want to search. Some people, instead of tributing to go for a Laurel, will actually tribute to go for a the Rose Whip. It's entirely up to you on the routes of play you want to make. Because I've gone for both, if I went for one, I would just search out the Laurel instead and special the Laurel down. It doesn't really matter. So on this one, because I get to search two, I'm going to go for a Lily, and I'm going to go for a Snowdrop. This all depends on if you get another one in hand. It's entirely up to you. You can start recycling from the graveyard, revive around, do everything you need to. So Lily will summon a plant. You'll take off the plant and you'll search yourself out a Discoloseum. You'll activate the Discoloseum. You'll search yourself out a Regulus. You can then link these two together, or the top one, it doesn't really matter. And you're going to go into your first Melias. Melias will summon back the Sunseed. And then what you want to do here is you can use your Melias, or you can use the Sunseed plus that one, that Jasmine, to make a second Melias. That Melias will then bring back the Seed. And then you can use these two, and you go into your Bengal Lancer. Oh, no, hang on, done that wrong. That one would stay. You'd use that one to go into your Bengal Lancer. There you go. Then you use Bengal Lancer and Melias, using Bengal Lancer as a Link 1 to go into your dry. Dry will then trigger to summon you out or to search you out a bloom. If you wanted to, you could of course search out a shrine, and then that's how you can get a free extender to continue your plays if you want to. So we're going to go for the bloom. You would then be able to use Regulus's effect to target Lily, summon itself back, and equip it with Lily. And then you can banish a Malias plus a healer and go bring back your Bengal Answer. Keep in mind that you want to, if you make like Bengal Answer point to something else, plus your Sunavalon, you can use the damage step effect to gain a lot as well. You still also have the ability of the twin if you wanted to. To do that, you'd do that a little bit differently because you need to banish a link monster from the field. But again, this is all from one card, so you've replenished that one card in your hand. If this was a Rose Girl, you could use that. Like I said, if you wanted to, because you didn't need both searches, you could actually have a Rose Whip on the board as well. It's entirely up to you. But that's just a very basic combo to show you what this deck can do. I think it's crazy good, and I really, really enjoy it right now. So if you want to see like test hands or something more from the deck, then by all means, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to do that. But for now, as absolutely always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe. And of course, happy dueling.